Hi, okay, so this is my little coloring tutorial. I have my OC Darcy here. So what I first do is I get the base color, and usually the base color is just the overall, so I just randomly color pick at it. And then I always like to do a little layer above and clip it, so just in case if I don't like it, I don't have to go through all the effort of bleeding that specific layer. Anyhow, so what I'm doing here in the video is I'm going ahead and I'm getting in all the light shadows. Now I have kind of a wonky method, so bear with me, but I like to view it as painting. So I like to go with light and then I go a little bit darker, so then when I blend it together, it just makes more sense visually. In my head, I don't know, it takes me through the step-by-step process. I also color pick a lot too if I have a reference, but if I don't, I just kind of eyeball it. I like, when I'm using whiter or lighter skin colors, I like to push it towards more of a pinky to purple. When I'm going from more black to a dark tan, I go into more of a deeper red to purple and maybe even a slight orange. That's just my typical. Sometimes, skin colors work differently. Sometimes some are more olive, so you'd want to use green. For Darcy, I like going down that pink, purple, orange, sometimes a gray, olive-ish. I like to go for all of it. And so what I'm doing right now is I've put down all of the overall colors and I'm blending it together so it looks like skin. It looks like maybe it was all for naught if I put down an airbrush, but trust me, trust the process. What I like to do when I'm picking out which colors, and trying to figure out where I want to place them, I view the face as soft and circular, which is kind of what people tell you to anyway. Hold on, let me show you a little reference. There we go. Okay, we have surfaces. So that's why I like to do certain highlights and certain colors in different places, because it's all chopped up. Because some surfaces are going to be smoother than others, some are going to be more sharp edged, but all the way around, your face isn't just flat, one color, one sort of angle. There's a lot of different angles to it, and that's important. So anyways, when I choose to color pick, I like to depict those shadows and I like to be able to kind of show that. So when I use things like purples, it's kind of just to show a depth that I'm trying to imagine. Right now with the nose, I'm attempting to figure out where I want to add shadow. So as you can see, I'm still settling down all the different highlights. I like to use the original base color as a highlight because I know as more time goes on, it's just becoming a lot more of muddled little colors. So see, for the chin, I will add it's more circular for the chin, while on the eyebrow, I like to make sure that there's that pop right in the corner with the shadows, so then it kind of just looks like it's jutting out of the face instead of being in. That was kind of my planes of the face thing. And what I'm doing right now is I'm building up more shadow. As you can see, it's a lot of shadow. That's all I'm ever doing. And I'm using that bluish, purplish periwinkle. It's kind of a periwinkle color. This is a random picture I found off Pinterest, but as you can see, she has a lot of blues, greens, sort of popping out colors. There's a vibrancy, a rosiness on her cheeks, while there's just kind of a lack of color in her skin. Skin is more gray than you think it is, which is why when you go into realism, you're using more of gray tones. In my pieces, I like to also use some gray. You're gonna see that later, but I've just started incorporating that into my art because I realized that once you start seeing gray as a color, your art will become a lot more vibrant. Yeah, very strange. So I'm going back in with that sort of pinkish color, so then I can make it all look a little bit more defined, make sure it pops out a little bit more. My art, therefore, is going to look a lot more on the vibrant side. I like bright colors. I like that whole fun stuff. So the gray is mostly just to make it a little more neutralized. Especially how I use the blues and stuff, as you saw earlier, because I'm still trying to adjust to that gray. So that's why digital arts saved my cheeks so many freaking times. So I'm able to just lower the opacity. What I'm doing right now is I'm still building up more shadow, except I'm using a darker purple to kind of bring that back in. And I only do this really, really dark purple sort of look for very, very particular shadows though. This comes down to the little creases, the clothing, maybe a little clothing strap, it just behind the earrings, such like that. It just makes it so much easier. Oh, and I'm about to show you the eye whites. So I don't use pure white. I use usually lighter colors because here's what pure white looks like, right? Very jarring, very strange. That's gray, white, gray, white. It's too bright and it's not realistic, and we don't actually have eye whites. They're not pure white, okay? They're variations of yellow to pinkish to kind of a grayish blue, which is also why I like using that like dark grayish blue on top of it. I'm just coloring in the eye now, nothing too crazy. For Darcy, I kind of have this strange little blue accent in her eye. It's just for the funsies. I don't like using just straight up normal matte looking eyes. It just adds color. It adds color, that's it. Here, I'm just skipping around now to like save time. Yeah, so now I'm adding in little highlights and stuff. Usually nothing too, again, no whites. We're not using white, okay? We're using just kind of this lighter peachy color. Just in certain areas, nothing too crazy. And I'm still trying to keep with that whole entire planes of the face thing. Now, am I an expert? No. So I'm still winging. Everything you see is just wing it. I'm like, oh, that looks cute. That looks pretty. And I do it. That's it. For the eyelids, I like to add shine, nose, chin, all that. Blend it out to make it look more like skin, because that's what we're going for. Just make it look kind of smooth. I also like to add the little shadows because she has a little like lip piercing, and since it's kind of at a strange little angle, I don't know, it just makes it look better. For the eye, lip shine, I like using a significantly brighter color. It just makes it look more juicy. Oh my god, wait, I hate that word. Oh, I hate that word. Juicy? No. Anyways, I'm using the blue from the eye too to kind of bring that color back in, and I just want it to look very full, very lifelike. Here we are putting in the white of the teeth. Again, it's the same as the eye color. I mean, unless if their teeth are like yellowed, then it's a little bit different, but I still keep it like the same color. I'm doing some more little highlights to make it look lifelike, kind of like pores. That's what I think of, except I'm not actually drawing pores. A little bit of brown here and there because, you know, we're still trying to build up some color, some variation. And after having like all these pinks and purples and stuff, a little bit of brown's good. It just evens it out, makes it look a little bit more, you know. And I know this is supposed to be like a skin color tutorial, but I couldn't help but do, you know, a little bit of hair and stuff too. Also, I always like to up the saturation more than the original reference because I'm silly like that, and if it doesn't look vibrant enough, I just make it more vibrant. That's just how I am. Here I am putting in like the hair and stuff. I like to use like the fade pen brush for like hair stuff because hair is not like solid, so the opacity is kind of like whomp. So you can kind of like see the skin through the hair, you can see other things through the hair. It's just kind of the thought process behind that. It's okay if it's not like neat yet. It doesn't really have to be. That's for later. Because side note, when you're drawing digitally, it's just layers. So like who cares if like the layer's not like meticulously placed? Just draw over it at the very end. I think people freaking forget that. It's so funny. Yeah, by the way, I did a little airbrush over the hair. Again, it's just to make the like skin kind of see through. It's an illusion. It's all an illusion. It's all a lie. I have a little bit of like the brown going in. It's just darker on the top. Shadows, red, pops of color. It's just her natural color. I'm just making it pop as much as I can. To be honest, there's no thought behind these eyes or my eyes doing this. Absolutely nothing. I'm always fixing up the volume of the hair too. And if it looks messy now, do not worry. I always go in at the very end and I add more strands or I fix things up. It's just the rendering layer. So everything I'm doing now is kind of preparing to render. That's when the magic happens. Like right now I'm just cleaning up a little bit more. Also, did you hear that thunder in the background? That was crazy. I'm adding in more shadows. Oh my god, I just got a freaking storm surge warning. That's fantastic. Yes. Oh, this part. So whenever I want something to look translucent too, still, like, again, with the hair, I always take, like, the kind of the shadow color and then the base color over top, and I just airbrush it in. It gives that kind of, like, see-through-ish, hugging to the skin sort of look. I do it for, like, pantyhose. I do it for shirts that are supposed to be kind of, like, tighter. Do it for the hair. You can do it for a lot of things. I think it's really good. Like curtains, veils, just alpha lock layer on your line art and then turn different color. This helps immensely in art. Just go alpha lock and then change the colors because as you can see here, like the reds and stuff just make it blend in a lot more like it's actually skin. For the tattoos and stuff, I usually make tattoos, like depending on how fresh they are, old they are, I have to kind of think of that first. Hers was more of like a purple, and then it's faded out over time into a bit of a gray. Oh yeah, and I forgot to like do the line art for the earring. Fantastic. But for like other tattoos that are like more brown and stuff, you can just switch it up. It just doesn't really matter. For jewelry, like this is silver jewelry in particular, so I have an odd method where it's one of the only instances where I might use a pure white. For inside details, I like to go with like a grayish purple, and then I start it out with a grayish purple, not like just a straight metal gray. Why a purple? I don't know, it just freaking looks better. That's it. I go over it with a gold and then a almost pure white on top. And this is why I like my square brush too, is because I can make the little white and add on the little details over it. So my thought process behind it is when you see kind of like the shine of something in front of you, it has several different colors. And also using just a straight up gray, it's just not vibrant enough. It's not vibey enough. And so I always like going over with the yellow because it combats. It's a color wheel thing, okay? It's a color wheel thing. Hold on. Those who know me know I'm obsessed with this bad boy. Okay. So if I have kind of like a grayish purplish blue, so go to like the violet on a light side, see what's exactly across from it. Yup, a yellow. You can kind of have that with the yellow-orange combination. Make it really light. It just looks good. This is the science. It looks good, okay? And then the white on top just makes it look extra shiny. And I do love shiny. I've started getting really obsessed with just doing an ad layer over everything, which is really deviant art of me, but, you know, it is what it is. We have to go back to our roots somehow. I'm going in with some gray. That gray is not going to last long, okay? Sometimes I really don't know what I'm doing. The red on top is supposed to be kind of like, how do I explain? You know when you put your fingers up to a light and it looks kind of like red and stuff? Yeah, that's kind of like the effect I'm going for because it does it for the hair too. I would pull up a picture for that. I'm too lazy. For her eyebrows and stuff, I'm just putting a magenta over it because why not? I love it. I love doing that. Just doing some outlines, you know, extra little depth, nothing too crazy. Can you see how much I love my shadows? Oh yeah, and I'm going over it. I've got my big boy brush, that's the name of this guy, and it always has this sort of like chalky crayon sort of thing. It adds some texture, I love it a lot. I use it for shadows, and I use my little marker brush for shadows and stuff too. It's great. Also, notice this is like the only time I use the fill tool brush. That doesn't work with my art style. It really truly doesn't. Because of the opacity of my brush, it just sucks. Also, the reason why I'm doing like the little pink over it, it's not to keep it, but it's just to make sure that, again, because of the opacity, I can keep everything within the lines. No big deal, don't really have to do it, but it's just a preference. Oh yeah, and this is when I'm just straight up rendering now. Did a little background, nothing serious, nothing crazy, nothing kooky. And I also end up merging all my layers together at some point. Yeah, we do that sometimes. I go insane with like the saturation to overlay layers. It is my whole life. Without those, I don't know what I'm doing. At some point, yeah, we're going to the shadows because I wanted to be fancy and I wanted to be cool, and I was like, oh my god, this would be so easy. No, it freaking wasn't, okay? This was not easy. I hate shadows and lighting. Here's me trying to do the planes of the face thing. We're just gonna skip through because it actually looked like cheeks for a long time. Still looks bad, whoop-de-doo, what's new? Adding a little bit of highlights and stuff there. Adding some outline around there just to make the illusion that it's darker and that she's not completely flat. Doing more shading. We love shading. We being me, myself, and I. And this is that part where I do weird random colors. Just like as a secondary lighting, which is so strange because there's not really. But I just do it anyway. It adds a little bit of flavor. We love some flavor. I did some more background stuff. I'm just adding in the final little details here and there. But this is pretty much the coloring. It's tutorial / like watch through / voiceover. I don't know if this helped whatsoever. Honestly, this was like an hour long, so I had to reduce it by a lot. I don't even think this will fit on an Instagram reel. I'm gonna have to upload it somewhere else. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Turned out good. Here's her with lighting stuff, and then here's her without. So yeah, this is my little sketchy doodle thing. And thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. Yay!